Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. Remarkable, miraculous. Now, keep that up for just...
I'm going to talk about this real quick. There's a couple issues. I've never actually dissected that tweet, but I just want to talk about a few things real quick. So number one, it is a miracle nobody else died. I'll say that. And I don't think it's really a miracle on God's part. I think it was a professional hit, and they knew that they didn't want any other collateral damage, like oopsie with the Trump assassination. So yeah, I think that wasn't a miracle. I think it was just by design. You have professionals carrying out a hit, allegedly. But the other thing that he mentioned, which was, it would normally go through a moose or two. That is very true. 30-06 will go through everything. As we've showed here on the channel before, Valhalla VFT shot through actual steel plates, 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1/2 inch steel plates, and it punched through every single one, every single time. So
miraculous. Now, keep that up for just a second, because it's really around here. His bone was so healthy and the density was so impressive that he's like the Man of Steel, that we just went, something's not right. Something's not right. A lot of stuff's not right, but I just don't know why a surgeon would be saying something that actually only the medical examiner, somebody that specializes in forensics, could really contribute. Yes, a surgeon can tell you, or actually any person with common sense can tell you, that your bone density is better when you're younger, but this seemed a little bit too performative. Now, I can tell you...
Speaking of performative, we're going to talk about this new person of interest later that's very performative.
The part that he is telling the truth about is that Charlie's neck indeed did stop the bullet, without question, okay? And this is going to dispel a lot of theories that are out there, and I'm telling you this 100%. Charlie Kirk was shot from the front, and the bullet did not exit, and at least a fragment of the bullet was recovered from his neck. And I'm going...
I love Candace Owens, but I learned a thing or two about not speaking in absolutes from my last video, my big video. So speaking in absolutes right now for her is just making me feel a little uneasy for her, because again, 100%, that's an absolute.
To tell you exactly where it was recovered from, I have fact-checked this information from multiple sources now. I've actually been sitting on this for a little bit over a week.
Which we could really appreciate, fact-checking from multiple sources. And Candace Owens, of all people, regarding this investigation, has probably the most sources on the inside than anybody. But again, if she's questioning everything and questioning everybody up to Charlie's wife, how can you 100% fact check this from multiple people? Unless you were there and you put the hand in the wound and you saw what, with your own eyes, and even then they can deceive you based off of how many hands have touched the body or been around the body. That these things happen to happen quickly. If it's this high profile assassination, these things can happen very quickly. So even if you're there on the ground looking at it, unless it just happened and you just saw it, I mean, I would be questioning what my eyes are showing me, especially after it's been to the hospital and after he's been to the mortician, he's been to, gone through an autopsy. I mean, I would be questioning everything.
Right around here. So think about almost in line with your shoulder blade, right in the center. Now, why is that helpful? Because it gives us a bullet trajectory, okay? Went in here where you saw that, and it was stopped, and a fragment was pulled from, think of, right, if you're just touching your spine, in line with your shoulder blade.
Now, it's important to note, she did mention fragment.
Line with your shoulder blade.
Now, it's important to note, she did mention fragment. A fragment was pulled. If there was no exit wound and they only recovered a fragment, that means the rest of the bullet fragments are in Charlie's body somewhere. So why did they not retrieve all the fragments and put that bullet together, weigh the bullet, figure out the grain weight of the bullet, figure out what weapon the bullet could have potentially come from, because it certainly didn't come from that 30-06. And Candace goes on to say that, but she mentioned the trajectory, but she's guaranteeing that the bullet came from a different trajectory, most likely from the front row, it sounds like, entering here and exit and not exiting, stopping just here behind Charlie's neck. It's even almost an upward angle almost. So this is what Candace is now alleging. She says she knows 100%. She's verified it multiple times through multiple sources. Now let's go over to the Valhalla VFT video where he dispels and he debunks the Stephen Gardner claims that TPUSA told him about the C2 through the T1, and then we'll discuss Candace's claims. So you could see Valhalla's already lined out the line here for the 10 degrees of elevation. Now the offset doesn't matter, but you can imagine that line is slightly offset to Charlie's left, coming in from this angle. But as you can see, the C2 is the second vertebrae down from the base of your skull. So the base of your skull, the C1, the atlas, and the C2, the axis, and that is directly in line with the jaw. So if Charlie would have been struck in the C2, as TPUSA is alleging, that means the bullet would have had gone through his face instead of into his neck where we saw it enter, okay? Again, I don't believe that's an entry wound, but let's just humor this story for a while, right? The only story that's been debunked is the FBI story. So according to the FBI, if it would have gone in here, but according to TPUSA, it hit a C2, that bullet would have had to do some crazy things. Or you're going to say if the bullet directly struck the C2 and not that cavitation that we saw caused the damage to the C2, that's the only way I could explain damage to the C2 without the bullet directly impacting it from the front shot narrative, okay? If they found the bullet down here in his low back right here by the T1, and the bullet entered right here around the C6 or C5 even, maybe between C4, the only way the bullet touches that is if it came from his back right, or if it came at a different trajectory than what the FBI is alleging. Otherwise, it would have gone through his face. So there's just no way that happened. Obviously, his spine's not stopping a 30-06. Again, shout out to Valhalla VFT for dispelling this theory right here. Two of these things cannot be true at the same time. He either got shot from somewhere else, or he got shot in his C2 first, okay? Now, getting into Candace's claim. Candace mentions nothing about the C2 through C7, okay? She says nothing about that. She says that the shot came in where we saw it come in, which is right around this area, around the C5, C6, I would guess, and it was trapped right here around the T1, okay? So that is a slightly downward trajectory now that I'm looking at it. It's probably, because again, it's hard to tell on a skeleton where Charlie was struck, but Charlie was struck relatively close to his collarbone. It was on the lower side of his neck in the front here. So I would imagine that's around the C6, C7. So the bullet trajectory on that would be closer to like this, coming in, boom, and then slightly deflecting down and getting trapped back here in this meaty area of the back, according to Candace. So that is a, I guess, a downward trajectory as well. She admits that it wasn't from a 30-06, but without actually collecting all the fragments or having a slug, there's really no way to know. I mean, we know it's not a 30-06 because it would have blown out Charlie's back. It just would have. There's no denying that. But we don't know what caliber it could have been because they aren't being forthcoming about the fragment they received. Like, let's see that fragment. And they should have pulled all the fragments. If there's no exit wound, all the fragments are still in his body. And they should have, every single one of them should have been pulled and put on a scale and been reconstructed into a bullet, like as it was when it was fired, so you can determine rifling patterns, grain weight of the bullet, and all the things that go on with ballistic forensics that these people specialize in. So the FBI is not new to any of this. They have the leading foremost ballistic forensics lab. All of the ballistic gel is based off of their formula for making gelatin that simulates the human flesh as closely as possible. Like, they have been doing this for decades. So they know how to get a bullet, how to get fragments, and how to figure out and trace what weapon it came from, what the caliber is. That's very simple work, especially when there's no exit wound and you're not having to excavate the ground like you're in ancient Egypt to find bullet fragments, allegedly. But they already paved over the ground, so don't even talk about that, okay? We talked about Candace's theory, we talked about Stephen Gardner's theory. Now, there's a new theory out that I want to brush upon really quickly that came from one of you guys, and it is here in my email. This is from this guy right here. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that email, but when it's coming from a faceless, nameless individual, it's very hard to determine what is actually real information, what is somebody who's actually looking for the truth versus what is deliberate disinformation. Now, am I accusing this guy of that? No, I have no reason to. This is a extremely detailed breakdown. We're not gonna go through all this, but I know there's other guys who've already done videos on this guy's email because he sent it to multiple people. And I'm gonna just go through and talk about what I think is just abhorrently untrue. Because there's one thing about this theory that I think has legs and is worth looking into, and that is the vehicle parked under the underpass here. So here's the images of the vehicle. Someone was running through the tunnel and he screenshotted a few frames from this video where you can see that there's something silhouetting itself, looks like the front of a rifle here in the backseat of this vehicle. So as you guys can see right here, he screenshotted this video where the trunk is open here at 28 seconds, and at 23 seconds, it's closed. So the trunk opens right before the shot, and then it is closed after the shot when everybody's running by. It is very suspicious. It would match up with a more likely, I'll say this, a more likely bullet trajectory. He has it bouncing off the bottom of the skull here. And again, I think this is for him to try to explain Stephen Gardner's claims from TPUSA of it striking the C2 through the C7. But then again, this is making the assumption that the back of the human skull is strong enough to deflect a high-power rifle caliber round that is traveling upwards of 23 to 2,500 feet per second, potentially, in a 5.56 gun, and to stop it on a dime and turn it 80 degrees downward into his spine. That is a big assumption. Is it possible the bullet deflected from a hard bone? Absolutely. But I don't think it would look quite like this. I think it would look more along the lines of this trajectory here and still exiting out from the front where we saw the exit wound, in my opinion. I don't think you need to explain the C2 through C7. That's unverifiable. What is verifiable is what we saw, which in my opinion is very clearly an exit wound, and that is still a more likely trajectory for this bullet to be deflected off the back of his skull and out the front of his neck. Now, the same argument happens here for why we didn't see, why Candace didn't see any blood in the video that she saw from the camera from behind. First of all, Candace was watching that on FaceTime, so through a phone onto another screen. That is not good quality, okay? Unless there was an extreme amount of hemorrhaging from the back, you wouldn't be able to see that, and that is not consistent with entry wounds, okay? Entry wound in a hairline, if you shoot a deer, you're gonna have to look for the entry wound, okay? Even with a 30-06 or a 308. Every time I shot a deer with a 308 or a 300 blackout or any 30 cal bullet, I have to go and move the fur aside to find the entry wound, okay? It's not glaring, it's not bleeding, spewing blood. That's not how entry wounds react. So if you got shot directly in the back of the head, as this guy is showing, or if you got shot in his back right, as I am alleging, either way, you would not see the entry wound, especially from a 5.56. The bullet is so small. It's a 22 diameter. It's a 22 caliber bullet. That's the diameter of the bullet. It's 22 caliber, the same as a regular 22 that you shoot squirrels with. So I think a much more likely trajectory is if it did come in this way, bouncing off the skull, riding out and punching out the front here. This guy has a ton of explanations for this puff in the back of Charlie's shirt and the shot coming from directly behind being the reason for that. I do think that there's legs and there is a reason to look into the vehicle that was parked under the underpass because there is a very strange silhouette in the vehicle. So am I 100% on board with this? No, I still think it is way too close for comfort. If I'm the shooter, if I'm a professional shooter, I think that's a little too close. Personally, I'd like to be a lot more disconnected from the action once it happens. So one last thing I want to debunk, I guess you can say, is that he's trying to explain the official narrative based off of the bullet still being retained in the back by the T1 and it striking the C2 through the C7 is my assumption, because I don't know how else you would come up with this theory, because he's alleging that the chain that Charlie was wearing in the crucifix actually swung up, and that the crucifix itself is what punctured Charlie's neck, going into his neck and then being yanked out is what caused the horrible blood loss that we saw. You don't have to be a ballistics expert to think about how silly that is, but it is super silly to think that a chain swinging upwards has enough pressure and velocity to enter somebody's neck and then come out and cause the bleeding that we saw. So once that chain started moving in the upwards direction from that temporary wound cavity, it started swinging up this way, it snapped. When it was already in motion, it snaps here because the chest keeps expanding. The chain snaps. This side goes escape velocity and flies off the back, which we saw. This side continues going up because that cross has more mass than the rest of the chain, so it continues going up, and it lingers by Charlie's face. You can see it lingering up by the front of his face, and at no point in time did I see that thing enter his neck and come back out. In fact, it's the opposite of what I saw. What I saw was something poking through his neck, either a bone fragment or a bullet itself, poking through his skin and then piercing his skin and flying out onto the ground that was then renovated a day or two later. So before I talk about what I still believe to be the most likely angle of the shot and a potential sighting of the shooter, I do just want to take a moment to shout out Jesse on Fire and this video here where he's talking about Hunter Kozak, where he's a part of Destiny's Liberal College Tour mimicking Charlie Kirk. It's called the Un-F America Tour, and this guy is one of like the founding members listed on the website for this organization. And mind you, this is the last guy to speak to Charlie Kirk, founding member Liberal College Tour mimicking Charlie Kirk. It's called the Un-F America Tour, and this guy is one of like the founding members listed on the website for this organization. And mind you, this is the last guy to speak to Charlie Kirk, and as he's talking to Charlie Kirk about gun violence is when the shot rings out. So this whole time I've been pretty convinced that this was a deep state or professional type hit, but the motivation may be somewhere else. I'm not trying to point any fingers here, but it is very strange. Take a look at this guy here.
We're gonna look at it in a second. All right, here we go.
Somebody explain to me why this young man that was standing in front of Charlie Kirk is practicing being outraged at seeing Charlie Kirk get shot or assassinated or whatever. before he even arrived.
So this guy is caught on camera before Charlie Kirk even arrives to the campus, practicing, performing his reaction to what he's about to see. So does he have foreknowledge? I mean, nothing's happening around him that would warrant him to react in this way. Nobody's getting punched in the face, or there's nothing being thrown at him that we can see. So he's just performing, and he's practicing, just like football players run through their pregame. This dude's running through his pregame right here.
Event.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been?
Don't worry, we don't show anything graphic.
In America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence?
This young man's name is Hunter Kozak, and for some reason, he was seen practicing being horrified by something. And then next thing you know, something horrifying happened 15 minutes later. So I want to ask you, do you think this was a coincidence? And if not, why would somebody be in the crowd practicing being horrified, and then out of nowhere, something horrifying happened?
So that's before Charlie arrived on campus.
Like he knew it was about to happen.
So obviously that would be circumstantial evidence that indicates that Hunter Kozak probably or maybe knew that something was going to happen. He was rehearsing his reaction in advance. That's what the indication is, right?
Very suspicious, to say the least. And then he goes on to show, let's go ahead and let's just skip ahead and show you guys what he shows, because he does a really good job showing all of this. We're going to back up to where he shows that Hunter Kozak is a part of this Un-F America organization that is founded by Destiny, I believe. So
Video, just in case you see anything that would potentially be interesting to the FBI. And just in case there's any ambiguity about why Destiny is relevant to this, Destiny is the top bill of the Unfuck America tour, which we have been reading the website from. And Hunter Kozak is also right there from the Unfuck America tour. He's the last one who asked the question. Like we just established, he's the one that did the shady interview. Okay.
very sketchy, to say the least. He goes on to talk about how this guy's dad actually works for Jimmy Kimmel. Jesse on Fire brings all the receipts, so go ahead and check his video out. Very strange, to say the least. Now let's go. Jesse on Fire brings all the receipts, so go ahead and check his video out. Very strange, to say the least. Now let's go back. Jesse on Fire brings all... Very sketchy, to say the least. He goes on to talk about how this guy's dad actually works for Jimmy Kimmel. Jesse on Fire brings all the receipts, so go ahead and check his video out.
You know, the Jimmy Kimmel thing, like, he was suspended. I mean, his show was cancelled. And now this one is related to him.
Very strange, to say the least. Now let's go back. Jesse on Fire brings all the receipts, so go ahead and check his video out. Very strange, to say the least. Now let's go back to this angle, because I want to show you guys where I believe the most likely shot came from. It came from right here, is my humble opinion. And when you look at the trajectory of the bullet that I'm alleging, this spot right here keeps you out of sight from the cameras that are on this wall right here, and from the vast majority of people filming, because whether or not he shot through this crack right here, which again is it looks very small on Google Maps right now, but it's actually like 1.5 feet to 2 feet wide. People who were there in person let me know that's actually much wider than it looks. And so if I'm a shooter and I want to stay out of the sight of everybody, I might be up against this wall here with a tripod, or I might just be prone out on the top of this and shooting over the top. But either way, this matches the bullet trajectory that is most likely for the exit wound where we saw in the front of Charlie's neck. Again, an entry wound would not be able to be seen very easily through any kind of blurry imaging or even a high-resolution camera. It's going to be very hard in a shaded area with dark hair to pick up a bullet wound, entry wound. In a hairy area. It's just the hair is going to cover it up. And again, this is something I want to recreate. So if you guys want to support that, please consider joining the Patreon and leaving a super thanks, because I want to prove this to myself. I would like to let this go. I'd like to believe the official narrative if it was at all even remotely believable. But I still believe that this is the most likely area of the shooter. And we're going to hop over to X real quick and take a look at Adam Bartholomew's video, because at the time when I saw this, I didn't think anything of it. I thought this has to be either an undercover cop or one of Charlie Kirk's security detail. But what I want to show you guys real quick is right after the shot's taken, about 8 seconds later, you see the feet emerge of somebody who's sprinting across the Hall of Flags rooftop here through the restricted area and hops through the caution tape like it's nobody's business, like he's done it before. Again, you don't have to be a Fed or professional assassin to know how to hop through caution tape in this manner, but it is a little peculiar, I'll say that, because when I saw him go through it, I'm like, it looks like he's done that before. I wouldn't have thought to do that motion. But then again, it might just be nothing, but it is very peculiar. This guy could have easily dropped down through the opening over there by where the shooting took place. So we see the shot took place just now. Everyone starts to scatter. He brings his camera up. He sets it down. Again, over here is where I'm alleging the shot took place from. And then right here, you start to see this guy's feet emerge. So if I go back frame by frame, I don't know how easily I can do that on X, but you see him right there. He emerges pretty far back. It's about 8 seconds after the shot's taken that he emerges. And watch how he hops through that. Boom. Like an absolute professional, dude. Guy's not out of shape. He's a hoss, but he's not out of shape. He's pretty thick, but guy's not out of shape. He's a hoss, but he's not out of shape. He's pretty thick, but he's getting after it. And he hops right through that caution tape like it's nobody's business, dude. I mean, can I slow this down on X? Yeah, we can. Let's do 25%. So here we go. Shot's gone off at around 19 minutes and 12 seconds, 19 minutes and 11 seconds, around there. So let's go ahead and see how this plays out. So we're at 19:15, so approximately 4 seconds later, this dude's like, what just happened? Which is, again, a reason I believe it was probably a suppressed 5.56 rifle with supersonic ammunition is what it sounded like to me. Now we're at 18 seconds, and let's see where we can start to see the feet of this guy emerge. We don't see him yet. Maybe we do. Is that him right there? No, that's him right there. Okay. So you see him right there sprinting. So he emerges like 8 to 10 seconds later. You probably see him a little earlier if you want to really break it down frame by frame. But I thought at first this has to be one of his security detail, but somebody brought up a really good point. There's a staircase right here. I guess it is pretty crowded, but if you're going down to rush and help your security team, that's where you're probably going down. You're probably pushing through these people and getting down here. You're not sprinting across the only place that's wide open where there's nobody else, which is, again, a reason I thought this couldn't be the assassin. There's no way this person is that dumb. If you were hidden back here from everybody, why would you drop down and run across an open rooftop? It kind of defies all logic, in my opinion, of being hidden and being in the setback. But look at him, just absolutely. I mean, like, maybe I'm slow, but I wouldn't have thought to run through it like that. That was a pretty slick move on his part. I just want to know who that guy is and why is he sprinting across the rooftop when everybody else is just ducking. Everybody else is taking cover. Like, where is he running from? Did he hear something behind him? If he was standing over here, did he think the shooter was up here? Like, why is he sprinting this direction? Is just my biggest question. He looks like a man on a mission. I will say that. Who he works for, I have no clue. So in summary, I think the most likely situation is still the one I originally presented.
Honestly, for that guy, I don't think he's a suspect. Or perhaps he might be one of the people that conducted all this stuff. Like, he was just the one that actually tried to, because when he runs, he knows people are going to run. So it's like he is like the bait, and then people were going to follow him. But in fact, you know, they are not going. They weren't actually following him running that side. So it was a fail. But for me, he might be one of the guys, you know, like doing that stuff. Perhaps, or he's just an innocent guy, like just run. He has a different mind comparing to other people. Like, you know, like everyone has different mindset. Sometimes when a calamity or disaster or incident happens, sometimes a lot of people will take action A, but sometimes there are a few people will take action B. So it's like, you know, you know that, I think, if you don't know that, I've seen people like that. Yeah. So what do you think, guys? I'm not too sure. Let's see. Let's continue.
The fact that that wasn't summary, I think the most likely situation is still the one I originally presented. The fact that that wasn't blood splatter doesn't change anything for me. That was just the smoking gun. It proved everything else that I had already been seeing. Also, Charlie's hair stood up in the back. It proved everything else that I had already been seeing. Also, Charlie's hair stood up in the back, which is just, think about a pressure wave. When you slap your thigh or you slap a waterbed or something, you see a pressure wave go out and you see it raise up and go down, just like when you flip a hose or a rope. That's exactly what's happening with his hair, because he's struck in the back of the head. So his hair feels, his whole skull has that pressure wave performed. And that's when you see his hair flip up, and that's when you see the cavitation causes that massive poofing of his shirt. But again, I think if he's struck from the back right here, just behind his ear and his hairline somewhere, the bullet's going to travel down, damage all these vertebrae that they say were damaged, and then kick out of his neck down here, as we saw. And I think it's very possible a fragment of the bullet is placed around here. For those of you guys who aren't ballistics, who don't shoot, who aren't familiar with different bullet types, is most likely a kind of varmint round is my guess what was used, because those expand extremely quickly. Most likely a kind of varmint round is my guess what was used, because those expand extremely quickly, and varmint rounds do fragment to cause as much damage in as little tissue as possible. So it's very possible that a petal or a leaf or as much damage in as little tissue as possible. So it's very possible that a petal or a leaf or a fragment of the bullet broke off when it entered and ended up down here in this area, to confirm what Candace is saying, and also to confirm what Stephen Gardner is saying from TPUSA. The only thing that they're not being forthcoming about, whether it's the coroner or whoever you think is involved, is from TPUSA. The only thing that they're not being forthcoming about, whether it's the coroner or whoever you think is involved, is the entry wound being in the back of the skull. I still believe if we could go back and see Charlie's body before it was messed with and tampered with and examined and flown from here to there and embalmed, that we would see an entry wound there. But unfortunately, I don't know if we'll ever get the truth, and that is just the sad reality that we live in. I don't know if we'll ever get the truth, and that is just the sad reality that we live in today, especially with AI and all of the misinformation and deliberate muddying of the waters, guys. So I just want to say thank you guys for every single one of you supporting me in this endeavor. I love every single one of you guys. If you guys want to support the channel, please go to rangeabro.com, check out our discounts page, our loadouts page, sign up for our email list, join the Patreon if you guys are interested in supporting me and getting those ballistics gel dummies. Also, if we have any leftover money after the ballistics gel dummies are purchased, I'm going to take that money and buy a ballistic high-speed camera that's going to allow me to capture extreme slow motion footage and actually catch the bullet, which is going to give us a lot more information about what the bullet is doing once it enters the ballistic gel. That is a large goal of mine, and I would really appreciate any single one of you guys who could help me get there. So with that being said, I love every single one of you guys. Just remember, Christ is king. It is not right versus left. Love your neighbor. Okay, drink a lot of water. Go outside. Hang out with your family. Don't get sucked into this, as I've been kind of sucked into this recently, and it's kind of dominated my mental space and all of my brain power, and it does start to affect you and the people around you. So make sure that you're focusing on your family and focusing on yourself and your own mental health, guys, because that's very, very important. I love every single one of you guys. Christ is king. Drink a lot of water. Stay safe. Stay dangerous. Range Day Bro, out.
Okay, what do you think, guys? I think this guy is good. He actually analyzed quite in detail, and he was in neutral. He checked out this guy's analysis, he checked out this guy's analysis, he checked out this analysis. So he summarized everything, and he was giving his honest opinion. And this guy was actually quite professional in shooting, so he's good. He know all these ballistics, and yeah. And let me know what you think in the comment section, or what video should I react to next, and I would like to react to. And I just released a new song. Let me put it up for you for a little bit. Okay, so it's Fabled Humanitarian. Let me play the front part. Okay. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. First drop. Now I'm going to show you second song. Film for Runner, okay? Second drop. Hey, 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 hey.
Nah, you gotta know one thing. Nah, you gotta know one thing.
Upgrade yourself to some five-star hotel you have here. You got a lot of big hotel, someone to heal it. To you, man, use your brain, bro. Use your brain. It's in your phone.
Phone. It's in your phone.
Have you invested your
Okay guys, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of my songs, and also in this reacting video. I would like to react to whatever video that you want me to react to, and I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, peace out. God bless you all. Pray the rosary, pray for the world, pray for me, pray for my family, and pray for the souls. Amen.